flies fast.
So, all right. Good morning. Good morning. This is Ron Graham. I'm the president of HAVIN, and I want to say thank you for joining us today. We're excited to have this presentation for you. We have a guest presenter with us, a longtime friend of HAVIN, Dina Abramson from the Texas State Library. And I know when a few months back, we were talking about January being the month of Louis Braille's birthday, and Stacie and Karen said, hey, we should do this. We should have something for Braille. And they contacted Dina, and Dina says, I'm all in. So this has been in the planning stages for a while, and I'm excited to see it come around. So I want to say welcome to all of you, and we have some basic Zoom housekeeping issues. Stacie, Raul, y'all want to take that?
Sure, I can do
Okay.
the little housekeeping bit. So welcome everybody. I'm Braille Gallegos, your host. So everybody is muted to preserve the integrity of the recording. The meeting is getting recorded. So you might see a pop-up on your screen about how this meeting is recorded, and it'll have a got it button or whatever to acknowledge. Be careful that you don't hit close, because that will kick you off the meeting and you'll have to come back in. So that can happen. I've already seen a couple people leave and then come back. So that's probably what happened. So in addition to the meeting getting recorded, there is also a transcript of the meeting, so that everything we say is getting transcribed into text. And that way it'll allow people to have a copy of the text that's being said in the meeting, which makes it a little more accessible. There will be time for questions and possibly even a trivia game. And so the way we're going to handle that is based on who wants to participate with that. We'll do the hand raising method for questions or other participation. To raise your hand, you will press Alt-Y from a Windows computer or Option-Y from a Mac, or the raise hand button from your app on Zoom. If you're dialing in, it will be *9. Since you cannot unmute, pressing the Alt-A or Command-Shift-A or the unmute button will not work. However, if we would like you to unmute, if you have a question, etc., based on your hand raising, I will send a request for you to unmute, and then you'll be able to do that. And let's see what else. I think that's all the housekeeping stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Stacie, and she will take it from here.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Once again, I'll echo the good mornings that have already been shared. And so on January 4th, each year, we celebrate Louis Braille's birthday. And actually a few years back, and I admittedly did not look this fact up, but a few years back, January 4th has become World Braille Day. So if you ever see any mention of World Braille Day, it's kind of a means to honor the work of Louis Braille. Louis Braille was a Frenchman. He was born in France, and when he was 3 years old, he injured his eye. His father was a leather worker, and Louis Braille really was fascinated by the work of his dad, and he, despite the warnings from his father to not play with his tools without his supervision or whatever, Louis decided as a curious 3-year-old to do that, subsequently damaged his eye. It developed an infection, and eventually he lost his vision. He was totally blind. Back then, you know, back in his time, there was not the things that we know today as blind people, and opportunities for learning were not in existence. And so very early on, he was in a situation where he didn't he didn't have access to the things that we have today. So eventually, and I'm paraphrasing this because we want to include all of our stuff for our presentation, but he ended up going to the Braille Institute, the school, what would actually be the school for the blind in France, where he received training and learned how to be independent and learned. He actually developed the code of Braille, which is used by blind people all over the world. From the time from then on, from when it was invented. With this workshop, I saw an email earlier. Somebody had a question about whether we were going to cover Braille displays and electronic Braille and that kind of thing. And today we're actually not going to talk about that. That could very well be a workshop for a later day. But today, the purpose of today's workshop is just to introduce Braille, to talk about why somebody might want to learn Braille. I know there's some misconceptions. People who go blind as adults think they'll never be able to learn Braille, and actually there are some benefits to at least knowing some of the Braille code. So we're gonna talk about that, and then we're gonna really focus on the Texas Talking Book program to share with individuals who may not be patrons of the library, or for even those of us who are patrons. It's an opportunity for us to learn something new about library services as it relates to Braille materials. So do we have Karen on yet? Okay. So Karen was going to be here to share with us, and she may pop in a little later, some facts about Braille. I told you a little bit that it was a system developed by Louis Braille. It's kind of got derived from Morse code, or what used to be called night code, which was a means of communication for soldiers. So the Braille code as we know it is a 6-dot system. And for people who want to learn Braille, you start out learning what's called uncontracted Braille. So you learn the letters and numbers, and then once you have that down, you move into contracted Braille, where you start learning that letters stand for words and that kind of thing. A Braille cell, if we think of a half dozen of eggs. So you have 6 eggs and a half dozen, you have 6 Braille dots in the Braille cell. So if you have your egg carton standing up on its short end, you will have 2 rows of eggs. Down the left side, you would have dots 1, 2, and 3. And on the right side, you would have dots 4, 5, and 6. So that's what the Braille cell is. It's a rectangle standing on its short end with 3 dots going down the left side and 3 dots going down the right side. So when Braille was first invented, before the Perkins Braille writer, the heavy machine that many blind people will use if they don't have Braille displays or technology devices, the Perkins Braille writer, before it came into being, Braille was written with a slate and stylus. So a slate is a tool that you put your paper in, and a stylus is the tool that you make dots. And when we get into Braille resources later, I will make mention of how someone might obtain a slate and stylus at no charge, free to you. We will also cover, when we get to resources, opportunities for learning Braille. And so with that, I am going to turn our virtual lectern over to Dina Abramson, who is with the Texas Talking Book Program. And Dina is going to come in and share with us an overview of TSL Services as it relates to Braille.
Okay, good morning, everybody. As Stacie said, my name is Dina Abramson. I am with the Texas Talking Book Program. I just wanted to thank Ron and Stacie and Raul for this opportunity to speak to you this morning about the Talking Book Program and about our Braille services. So I'm going to share my screen. I do have a PowerPoint presentation, and I'm going to send the PowerPoint to Ron, and in his follow-up email, he will include the PowerPoint because there are some phone numbers and some URLs that I think will be helpful. Let's see. Let me share my screen. And then. Okay. And show. Okay. And from the beginning. Okay, is that working?
It looks like it from this end.
Okay.
That should be fine. What I would suggest is for those who have enough vision to be able to see the PowerPoint, if you are able to see it just fine, just go ahead and raise your hand just to confirm. From a technical viewpoint, though, it's working. So
Okay, great.
yep, and so we have a raised
Okay.
hand there. Thank
Very
you for
good.
that.
Okay, very good. And like I said, we will send this PowerPoint in a follow-up email so that you'll have the information. So the first thing I want to go over is an overview about the Texas Talking Book Program. So we are a regional library of the National Library Service for the Blind and Print Disabled, also known as NLS. So that is the federal part of our program. And then the Talking Book Program also operates through the Texas State Library and Archives Commission in Austin. We are a free library service for Texans of all ages with qualifying visual, physical, or reading disabilities or health conditions. And those conditions can be temporary or permanent. So this means that basically anybody who cannot read standard print or physically hold a book is eligible for our service. And this can also include a temporary condition such as maybe somebody who has a broken arm or somebody who is recovering from carpal tunnel syndrome. They would also be eligible for our service. And we do serve the entire state of Texas. Our office is located in Austin, but we serve the whole state. So how can you get started with the Talking Book Program? Well, an application is required for service, and applications are available on our website. Our website is www.texastalkingbooks.org. If you cannot access the applications on our website, we can mail, email, or fax an application. The application is pretty basic. It's name, address, phone number, email address, and then we ask you to check a box if you have a visual disability, a reading disability, a physical disability, and then also you can put contact people to be included on the application if you'd like. Then the application must be signed by a certifying authority. And this is somebody who can certify that you qualify for the program based on a disability or health condition. There can be a variety of certifying authorities, not just a doctor or a nurse. It can also be a low vision specialist, a VI teacher, an OIB counselor, which is the Office for Older Blind Individuals. It can be an activity director at a nursing home or assisted living facility. It can be a librarian, even a member of the clergy can certify our talking book application. Then once the application is completed, you can mail it in by regular mail or fax, or you can scan and email the application. And our applications are available in English and in Spanish. So once you become a member, I want to talk about some of the things that you have access to. So the Talking Book program provides books and magazines in alternative formats. And those formats include audio, Braille, and large print. We also have 2 devices available on loan, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute. We also have our mobile device app, which is called BARD, which stands for Braille and Audio Reading Download. That's not only a mobile device app for iOS and Android, but you can also get the BARD app for your computer as well. We have a quarterly newsletter. We have an adult book club and youth programs. And then we have the Disability Information and Referral Center, which is the part of the Talking Book program that I manage. The Disability Information and Referral Center provides disability and health-related information. And the one thing to remember about the DIRC, as we call it, is that you do not have to be a member of the Talking Book program in order to receive service from the Disability Information and Referral Center. Anybody in Texas can call and ask for information. This could include information about specific disabilities and health conditions. It can be information about state agencies, such as the Office for Older Blind Individuals, or the Vocational Rehabilitation Office. It can also be information about subjects related to disabilities, such as assistive technology or transportation, maybe emergency preparedness. There are a lot of topics related to disability that the Disability Information and Referral Center can assist you with. And the other important thing to remember, all services with the Talking Book program are absolutely free. So I'm gonna take a little turn here and do a little pop quiz for just a minute. And Raul is going to take 1 or 2 people who can guess. The question for the pop quiz, and there's only one question, is how many Braille titles does the Talking Book program have? So if you want to raise your hand and take a guess, we'll take 1 or 2 guesses and then I'll give you the answer.
All right, so remember how to raise hands, option Y, Alt Y, or *9 if you're dialing in. We got Alice Lopez. So I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Heard what he said.
Yeah.
There you go. You're unmuted. Go ahead and give us a guess.
Is it 3?
No, not 3. So this is how many Braille titles, like how many books, not necessarily like all the copies of a book, but how many books in Braille does the Talking Book program have?
Oh my gosh, that's more than 3.
You want, Dina, do you want
Um,
to give her a chance to take one more guess? Because
Yeah.
maybe it didn't come through right. Yeah.
Yes,
Is it about maybe about 1,000?
you're getting warmer.
Okay.
That's a good guess.
All right, thank
let's see.
you.
Absolutely. Thank you for playing.
So I see Paul Williams with his hand raised. So I'm going to ask you to unmute Paul Williams.
I say over 100,000.
Oh, okay. Now that's a little bit more than what we have. But that's a good guess. Let's see. Let's maybe take one more.
All right. Another hand raise. Anyone want to take a guess? All right. So hand raise for Brandon. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Oh, this is Brenda.
Hi.
We can hear you.
I'd
Yeah.
say over 10,000.
Oh, okay. Well, so Brandon is closest to the correct answer. Thank you, everybody, for playing. I'm going to give you the answer. We have over 30,000 Braille titles in our collection. So that gives you an idea of the Braille titles that we have. And so as Stacie mentioned, there are resources for learning Braille. My slide says, what if I don't know Braille? And for the Talking Book program, you don't have to know Braille because we do have audiobooks and large print books as well, if you can read large print. But if you want to learn Braille, there are resources out there. At the Talking Book program, we do have a fact sheet about ways to learn Braille, and I will include that fact sheet in the follow-up email with Ron. Now, one good source that I did include on the PowerPoint is the Hadley Institute. They are a national organization that offers they have classes and workshops and discussion groups about all aspects of blindness and vision impairment. And they do have beginner and advanced Braille classes. And all of the workshops and classes and discussion groups with Hadley, everything with Hadley is free also. So I did include their web address. It's just hadley.edu. It's HADLEY.edu. And the phone number is 800-323-4238. But again, you will be receiving this PowerPoint if you didn't get to take that down. So what are some other Braille materials that we can provide at the Talking Book program? We do have free Braille alphabet cards that we can provide. We can also provide you with Braille calendars. Our parent company, National Library Service, has just started a Braille calendar program. So if you are a patron, we can order you a Braille wall calendar or a Braille pocket calendar. I say or, but actually you can order both. You can get a wall calendar and a pocket calendar if you are a patron of the Talking Book program. If you are not a patron, I do have a list of other sources for Braille calendars. The American Action Fund for Blind Children and Adults is one organization that provides free Braille calendars. If you are a patron of the Talking Book program, I can order a desk calendar for you from the American Action Fund. If you are not a patron, but you still want to get a Braille calendar, I can give you their number, or like I said, I do have a list of other sources. If you are looking for a large print calendar, we do not provide those. but I can send you a list of resources for large print calendars as well. Then we also have materials for sighted students to learn about Braille. A lot of times I receive calls from school librarians or teachers, and they want to do a classroom unit on, it could be just about learning Braille in general, or it could be about, maybe they want to do a unit on Helen Keller or Louis Braille, and we can provide them with the Braille calendars. I'm sorry, the alphabet cards. And also I have worksheets where students can learn how to write their names in Braille. We have worksheets that have like riddles and games and things like that. And the sighted students are always very interested to learn about Braille.
Dina, this is Stacie. I want to interject something with regards to calendars. The American Printing House for the Blind, they have what they call their Insights calendar, and this is a wall or desk calendar. It's essentially the same size as an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, but it's in landscape mode, so it's turned sideways. And this calendar, I think it costs $7.50 or may even be $8.50. But the really cool thing about this calendar is it's in print, large print and Braille, but it also features each month has a piece of artwork that has been done by a blind or low vision or deafblind individual, and they have on the pictures of each month, they have a description of what that picture is. So that's a good, and what I really like about that is it also, the calendar, it shows the different phases of the moon, and those are tactile. So they have tactile markings that if someone's really into following the phases of the moon, you're able to see when a full moon is or when a half moon is.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. Thank you so much for mentioning that. I believe that might be on I think it probably is on the NLS calendar list. And so that's good information to know also. So then the last thing on this slide is we can provide a UEB fact sheet, and I'm going to mention in just a minute what UEB is. But this is a 4-page front and back sheet in Braille that explains the difference between old Braille and new Braille, which is UEB. And those fact sheets we can provide for free. And again, you don't have to be a patron. If you need a UEB fact sheet, just give us a call and we'll be happy to mail you one.
And just so our audience is aware, UEB stands for Unified English Braille Code, or
Yes.
Unified English Braille.
You beat me to that, Stacie. Great. Yes, so my next slide is about types of Braille. And as Stacie mentioned, there's grade 1, which is uncontracted, grade 2, which is contracted Braille. We have books in both grade 1 and grade 2 Braille. We also have some print Braille books, which are also called twin vision books. Most of the print Braille books that we have are children's books. And then also UEB, which again stands for Unified English Braille. It is the English language Braille code. It was adopted in April of 2004, and all of the Talking Book Program Braille books produced since 2016 are in UEB. So all of our new books are all produced in UEB. So also, as Stacie mentioned, there's 11:30 a.m. Excuse me, just a moment. There is hard copy Braille and then there's e-Braille. And hard copy Braille are the Braille books. They are larger than print books. For example, the King James Bible is 18 volumes in Braille. And then e-Braille is electronic Braille, and e-Braille is read using a Braille display. So I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation that we have 2 devices available on loan if you become a member of the Talking Book program. The first device that we have is a digital talking book machine, and that is our audiobook player. It plays our audiobooks, and our audiobooks come on a cartridge that it's about the size of a credit card, but it's thicker. And the book is actually on a microchip that is in the cartridge. And you just take the cartridge and you put it in the player and it will play. We have 3 different kinds of digital talking book machines. We have a standard player, an advanced player, and then a high volume player for people who may have hearing disabilities. And then we also have the Zoomax, which is the Braille e-reader. We've had the Zoomax device for maybe 6 or 8 months.
Almost coming
And
up on a year.
has it been a year? Yeah, I thought maybe.
It almost a year.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that is a new program through the National Library Service. They have produced 2 different Braille e-readers. There is the Zoomax and then the HumanWare. And Texas received the Zoomax e-reader. So the important thing to remember is that if you are a member of the Talking Book program, you can borrow both a digital talking book machine and a Braille e-reader. You don't have to decide between the 2. You can have both. So how do you learn how to use the Zoomax? Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the Zoomax because, as Stacie said, that's a whole other workshop in itself. But there are several ways to learn how to use the Zoomax. We have a user guide for the Zoomax, and the user guide is available in several different ways. The user guide is available on our website. It is also available on the Zoomax itself. You can also request a cartridge with the audio version of the user guide. The user guide is also available on Bard in audio format. And we do have a few copies of the user guide in hard copy Braille. And I did include the URL for the user guide on our website. Also, NLS has a how-to series on YouTube that is a collection of videos about how to use the Zoomax. They also have a how-to series for the, not for the Zoomax, but for the other Braille e-reader. And because we do sometimes have people transferring in from other states, they may have the HumanWare e-reader, and if they transfer in from another state, they can keep their HumanWare e-reader. They don't have to exchange it for a Zoomax. Now, there is also tech support available through us at the Talking Book program. So if you get a Zoomax and you have any trouble using it, you can give us a call. Anybody who answers the phone at the Talking Book program can provide technical support. Now, we only provide technical support for the Zoomax e-reader. If you have a HumanWare e-reader and you need technical support, then we would refer you to the NLS Technical Support Division. So what can you do with a Zoomax e-reader? Well, obviously you can read Braille books, and there are a couple of different ways that you can read Braille books with the Zoomax. You can download the Braille books directly to the device from Bard using Wi-Fi, or you can download from Bard to a blank cartridge. You can also call or email us at the Talking Book Program. We can put Braille books on a cartridge and send it to you through the mail. So if you are unable to download, if you don't have access to Wi-Fi, then we can do that for you.
And Dina, one thing I'd like to interject is that, and I know that you mentioned this, you know, that we're not going to get into Zoomax training today, but that is definitely something that we could look into doing in the future. I'm very proficient with the device. I think it's an amazing thing and absolutely love mine, and have helped some folks with learning that. So it is definitely, if you're a Braille user, or even in the beginning stages of Braille and you want something to really practice your Braille reading with, this is a great tool to have in your box.
Excellent, excellent, thank you. So you can also pair the Zoomax with an Apple device using Bluetooth, and this includes iPhones and iPads. Right now, you cannot pair the Zoomax with an Android device. If you pair the Zoomax with an Apple device, then the Zoomax would be acting as a Braille display. And you can also read Newsline materials with the Zoomax. Newsline is a newspaper and magazine service through the National Federation of the Blind. And Newsline is also a free service. If you are a patron of the Talking Book Program and you are interested in signing up for Newsline, you can give us a call and we can get you signed up for Newsline. If you're not a patron, you can still contact us and I can give you information on how to sign up for Newsline. It's a great service also.
And Dina, this is Raul. Are you at a point where you're going to take questions? Just wanted to know what your protocol was, because we did have a raised hand, and in case you can take a question now, or do you want to wait for questions in a little bit?
I think I'm going to finish up.
Okay.
I have just a few more slides, and then I'm more than happy to take some questions.
All right.
I was going to talk about some information from the National Library Service. So this is another resource for patrons of the Talking Book Program. The National Library Service has a program called Braille on Demand. And this is a service that allows patrons to receive up to 5 hard copy Braille books per month on indefinite loan. Now, the titles must be available in Braille on Bard. And so I have the URL that you would need in order to request a hard copy Braille book from NLS. If you are not able to access the web address to fill out the request, you can call us at the Talking Book Program. We can fill out the request for you. Again, this allows patrons of the program to receive up to 5 hard copy Braille books per month on indefinite loan. And I did also include the web address for more information about Braille on Demand. Now, I'm going to talk about some projects that are in development through the National Library Service. And I received this information by watching a webinar from a national blind organization, and Alice O'Reilly from the National Library Service. She's the collection development officer at NLS. she gave a presentation about some new projects that are in development. So just a little disclaimer here that I don't have a lot of information about these projects. But I wanted to mention them because it's always exciting to hear about new things that are coming down the line at NLS. So I'm going to mention them. I also have the URL for the presentation that Alice gave for this national organization. So you can go to that website and look at the presentation that she gave. Her email address is also on that webpage. So if you have any questions, you can direct them to her. But I did want to mention them. So the first one is tactile graphics. This will be available for eBraille and audio formats. This is a pilot project that is beginning sometime this year. And so we don't know when those tactile graphics will actually be available, but they are getting started on that project. And then they are also working on something called Express Braille. And this is a new product for producing low complexity eBraille books. And this will save more complex Braille books for when human touch is needed. And then some other things that Alice mentioned in her presentation that NLS is working on. NLS is very committed to Braille, and they are also making a commitment to Braille and audio parity. And that means having the same number or as equal as possible the number of Braille titles and audiobook titles. They also want to create hybrid Braille and audio materials, and they want to increase their number of print Braille books in both English and Spanish. If I haven't mentioned this before, let me say that the Talking Book program and the National Library Service have books in multiple languages. NLS is also working with other Braille organizations to expand the collection, and they are working on network libraries producing Braille materials of local interest. So in order to find out more about these projects, again, you can take a look at that presentation by Alice O'Reilly, but also if you're a patron, make sure that you are signed up to receive our quarterly newsletter, because any new programs from the National Library Service and from the Talking Book program, as soon as we have any information, we will put that in our quarterly newsletter. Our newsletter is available in Braille, by email, or in large print. And if you are receiving the newsletter in a format that, maybe isn't the best for you, for example, maybe you're receiving it in large print and you would rather get it in Braille or by email, just give us a call or send us an email, and we'd be happy to update your newsletter preferences. And also on this slide, I've included the web address for the video of that webinar, which was called Braille and Beyond. And finally, I want to mention one other program. NLS has a lot of online programming, and they have a monthly series called the Many Faces of Bard program. Now, this particular program is not about Braille, but the topic is using Bard with a smart device, a demonstration. And this online program will be on Thursday, February 8th at 6 p.m. Central. I have included the web address for this online program. You do not have to register in advance. You can just click on that link on February 8th at 6 o'clock, and you'll be able to join that program because NLS is working on being able to read barred books using a smart device. And by that, I mean Alexa. So that's a very exciting development. So that is my presentation. There we go. There's my final screen with my my name, my email address. Again, the web address for the Texas Talking Book Program, www.texastalkingbooks.org. Our phone number in Texas, toll free, is 1-800-252-9605. That toll-free number will only work if you have a Texas number. If you have an out-of-state number, you can call our local number, 512-463-5458. And again, I really appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to everybody about what we offer at the Talking Book Program. Again, we are a free service. Please give us a call or send us an email if we can help in any way. Thank you very much. And so I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
So we have Paul Williams who has had a question. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Paul to unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi.
Okay, hi. My first thing is tremendously informative presentation. Thank you for that. The question I have is, with the Zoomax, is it powered AC or DC or both?
Oh, good question. Is it powered AC or DC or both?
I can actually answer that, Dina, if you
good.
like.
Thank you, Raul.
Yep. So it powers with a standard USB, which is usually DC. And so if you connect it with a USB-C cable on, with the cable that comes with it, or even if you have your own USB-C cable, as long as it's at least capable of 20 watts for the USB-C cable, which is most of them, you can pair that in a car, plug it into a USB port in a car, or a USB port of an AC outlet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Raul. Any other questions?
And Raul here, while we were waiting for other hand raises, I originally had a question, but it's more of a statement now because I looked it up. Something for folks to be aware of if you're interested in learning Braille, especially distance learning, is there is a program called PerkyDuck. Yeah, it's a really neat tool. If you're familiar with TextEdit on the Mac or Notepad on Windows, PerkyDuck is that simple. It's a very simple tool. It has no translation, no spell check, no nothing. It's essentially an electronic Braille writer on your computer, and it works on Mac and Windows. And it's a good tool to practice writing Braille if you don't have access to a Brailler to write physical Braille, on physical paper.
That's fantastic. I'm going to add that to my resource. Thank you.
Yep. I don't, the URL to get it, Dina, is really long, but basically if you go to Duxbury Systems website, they have an all products page, and then you follow the links to that, and then you can download either the Mac or the Windows version, and it was updated in 2023 to make sure it's compatible with the most current versions of the operating systems.
Okay, great. Super. I will go there.
Do we have other questions?
Nobody else has raised their hands yet.
Okay. So, Dina, just to let you know that Karen is with us now, and Karen, we would welcome you to share a couple of fun facts you learned or you want to share with us about Braille.
And I have requested for you to unmute, Karen, so you should be able to do that. And in the meantime, I also wanted to add another comment, Dina, when you were mentioning how you can connect the Zoomax to the iPhone.
Yes.
One of the things that I teach folks that I work with, especially if they're new to reading Braille, is if you're not sure about, what code goes where, what letter goes where, especially if you're learning contracted Braille, is if you have the Zoomax or even just any Braille display, you connect it to your iPhone, do the normal things that you do on your iPhone, and look how it's spelled on the display, and you'll be able to tell what contractions you use and in what order. And for me, that was a good tool when I was transitioning from US Braille to UEB, because I didn't actually read the UEB handbook or anything like that. I just did it by using the UEB code on my iPhone, and as I used it, I learned it over time just by reading.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
So we're still waiting for
Okay.
Karen.
So one thing I want to make a correction on something that I said in the beginning when I was using the analogy, comparing the Braille cell to a half dozen of eggs. It's actually 2 columns of dots. So in column 1, you have dots 1, 2, and 3. That would be on the left-hand side of your egg carton. And on the right column, you have dots 4, 5, and 6. So you have 3 rows of 2 dots or 2 columns of 3 dots. 3 rows of 2 dots.
Yep, you
And
said it right.
yeah. Yeah. So, and I, I should have said this in the beginning too. I have been a Braille user. Gosh, I started learning Braille when I was in preschool, I remember. And then, I was fully transitioned over to Braille, when I was, at the end of 1st grade, going into 2nd grade. So, I am very fortunate that when I was growing up, I was one of these kids that had just a little bit of vision, and had I been in the wrong classroom with the wrong teacher, I might have been encouraged to really use that residual vision that I had that actually was not doing me any good. But what happened, fortunately, I had an amazing teacher that realized that if I was going to go anywhere, that Braille really needed to be the main tool to drive my car down that path. So,
And then, Cindy, I saw that you had your hand raised, so I've gone ahead and asked you to unmute. I think you're unmuted now, Cynthia.
I
Rather.
am. Thank you. This is Cynthia. I have a question, Dina, about the learning materials that you mentioned, the alphabet cards, and I think you said maybe some worksheets and things for those learning Braille. Are those on loan? Do you return those? And do you have to be, I missed this part, do you have to be already a member of Talking Book, or can anyone get those?
Yeah, okay, so thank you for your question. Anybody can request the Braille alphabet cards. We can send those out, and those would be for you to keep. The Braille, like the worksheets and things, those we send out more for sighted students who might be learning about Braille. These are worksheets like where they can sight read the Braille and like learn to write their name or learn to write a sentence in Braille. So at the Talking Book program, we actually don't have any Braille learning materials. What our program is designed to do is if somebody is learning Braille, then they could, join our program and borrow, like we do have the Twin Vision books, the print Braille books, or we have books in grade 1 Braille for people who are learning. So our collection can be like materials to help you as you're learning Braille. So if you want to borrow Braille books, you do have to become a member. But again, it's very easy to join. And I may not have also mentioned, you only have to check out one book or magazine a year in order to remain eligible. And this includes downloaded materials. So if you sign up for Bard and you read a book on your phone or your tablet, that counts. Downloads count too. So it's very easy to stay on the program, very easy to join, very easy to stay on, and it's a free service. So, you can always give it a try and see if it works for you.
Thank you so much.
Sure, thank you.
And just as an update, Karen, I requested that you unmute a couple of times. You might have the "this meeting is being recorded" dialogue up, which you have to hit got it.
There you go.
So.
And actually, before Karen starts talking, if I could just say one more thing real quick. We also have a public awareness coordinator. Her name is Jacqueline Owusu. She does a lot of outreach in the community. She travels the state to promote the program. So if you are a member of another group and would like her to speak, I do outreach as well. We both do outreach, but she is the main public awareness coordinator. So she can be reached through the Talking Book program if you want to have her speak at your group, or she can also send educational materials. We have pamphlets and things like that, and we have those educational materials in English and in Spanish. Promotional materials is really the word I was looking for. And so that's something else that we offer at the Talking Book program is outreach about our program. She can do Bard demonstrations, and she can also sign people up for the program, which is great too.
Wonderful. So just to acknowledge, so Karen is unmuted and ready, but I also wanted to acknowledge I see a couple of hand raised, so we'll get to you based on time. I'll let you lead that, Dina, as time permits, but that way we can give Karen a chance.
Enroll.
Okay, so Karen, you're gonna share with us the things that you were gonna mention at the beginning of our presentation, which are some facts about Braille. And I know that you want to mention some things about Braille resources, and we'll come back to that.
Ron, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Ron.
Okay, I'm sorry for it taking me forever to get unmuted. Zoom is being Zoom to start out with. I also want to let you know that Louis Braille is the guy who invented the Braille. He was born in the 1800s, and he developed Braille through a system that used to be a 12-dot cell originally for the military, and they used to have to read in the dark, and he cut it down to a 6-dot cell. And Braille originally was done in French for the French people, and then it became used worldwide, primarily for French users and for Braille music originally. And Louis Braille went blind at about the age of 2 when playing in his dad's workshop with his tools, and accidentally poked his eye. And then they started a school for the blind in France, and everything had gone worldwide since. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Ron, did you have something?
I was going to say, Elisa says she's been trying to raise her hand, but she can't get it raised. So when we get to questions, we'll get her in the queue to be unmuted as well.
Okay. So who do we have next?
We have Alice Lopez, followed by Sarah Freeman Smith.
Okay, so we'll take Alice, then Sarah, then Elisa.
And I've requested for you to unmute, Alice.
Okay, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Hi, thanks. I have just a quick question that's kind of unusual. Okay, my pads don't work, so I cannot read Braille at all. But I do have a child, well, teenager actually. She's autistic, and she's also um, intellectually delayed. Is there a way where she can learn Braille? And where would she be able to go to learn Braille? How would I be able to teach her?
So Alice, this is Stacie. I'm assuming this is your daughter?
Yes,
Is
but
she,
I'm the one that's visually impaired.
okay, is your daughter sighted or is she
She
visually
is
impaired?
sighted. She is sighted.
Okay.
She's
So
just
you're,
autistic and intellectually delayed. I'm sorry about
okay,
that.
so you're wanting to teach her Braille?
Yes, because I cannot read Braille, and I have to read really, really large print, and a lot of places they don't have that. So I'm becoming illiterate.
Yeah. So Hadley is the first thing that comes to mind. Hadley
Okay.
as Dina mentioned, it's an organization that provides training, whether it be online. There's classes that individuals can sign up for through correspondence. So all of your coursework is done through the mail. And so beginner Braille or uncontracted Braille would be the class to sign up for. And this is something that's available for blind and or sighted people. There's a lot of sighted people that will sign up to take Braille correspondence courses through Hadley.
Hadley. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Sure. And Alice, I don't know if you're a member of the Talking Book program, but
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, very good.
Okay.
All right, so we have Sarah Freeman Smith. I'm gonna ask you to unmute.
Okay, all right. Good morning. I think it's still morning. It could be afternoon. I have definitely enjoyed learning some of these things, but I came in kind of midway, so I apologize. In my instance, I have low vision, but I'm curious. Just at this point in my life, I'd like to learn just the basics of Braille, such as being able to read, elevator buttons, floors, suite numbers, things that I encounter Braille, on a somewhat of a daily basis. Would that also be something that would better serve me going through Hadley, or, I'm just kind of curious.
So this is Stacie, and that's actually, we'll get to Elisa's question, but that's actually, your question is a great segue into the next piece of our session, which is talking about the functional implications of learning Braille and kind of replacing the myth. Sometimes people who are losing their vision as adults, they think that learning Braille is not something that they're going to be able to do, because many times people think, oh, if I'm learning Braille, then the expectation is I'm going to be reading volumes and volumes of Braille books. So we will definitely get that addressed. The short answer to your question is yes. To learn beginning Braille, I would recommend going through Hadley to start with the uncontracted Braille class.
Okay,
And
and
Mrs.
it's
Braille,
uncontracted.
if I could add something just real quick as well. You mentioned, like, hotel or elevator numbers and stuff like that. And Stacie will probably touch on this a little more in detail, but just to kind of give you an idea, is if you can learn the first 10 letters, the patterns of A through J, you've essentially learned the numbers.
Okay.
So, that way, because it could seem overwhelming.
Right.
And you don't want to be that person who's stuck in the elevator. You're not sure what floor you're on because you can't read the Braille signs, or, it's too
exactly.
fast.
Yeah,
right. So,
and actually, if I can jump in with a quick story related to your question, we have a I'm sorry, one moment. We have a member of the Talking Book program. She has been with the service for quite a while, and she is losing her sight. She was low vision for a long time, and now she's becoming completely blind. And she has our Talking Book machine. She knows how to use it, but she's used to being able to look at the buttons. And so she was in contact with us, and she said, I'm losing my vision, and I'm upset because I don't think I'm going to be able to use the machine anymore. And we explained to her that on the digital Talking Book machine, the buttons have different shapes. And also there are Braille markings next to each button. So we explained to her that she will still be able to use the Talking Book machine because it was designed to be used by somebody who has some vision or has no vision. And so we told her, you'll just have to start to recognize the shapes with your hands. And she's in the process of learning Braille. So she will be able to use the Braille markings to show her which button is which. So that's a good example of things like Braille markings and different shapes to help you learn how to use a device.
Okay, great, thanks.
And just one more kind of going along that story, and I think this will illustrate why I think learning Braille, at least from a functional standpoint, is very critical for folks, especially when it comes to being independent. So had a situation where had a young lady who unfortunately, in my opinion, was failed by the education system. And she was, she is of the opinion that she would not be able to learn Braille because her fingers aren't that sensitive and all of this. And so it was relayed to her, and she's convinced that she's only an auditory learner. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with auditory learning. I mean, there's all kinds of different learning styles, but there is an element of necessity when it comes to being able to function using your fingers and using basic Braille. So this young lady got separated from her friend, and she needed to get down to the main floor. She was in a hotel, and had she practiced or learned the first 10 letters of the alphabet, she would have been able to independently use an elevator by locating the numbers and going down to the main floor. Turns out somebody had to go get her because she couldn't do that herself. And so that's kind of when we're gonna get to Elisa's question, but I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about, ways that you can apply beginning Braille to things that you may encounter in your life.
All right, so Elisa, I just sent you a ask to unmute request. You should see that on your phone or your computer, however you're connecting.
I got it,
And you're
Raul.
unmuted. Yep, you're unmuted.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hi, Dina. So you mentioned about BARD, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know if I can call you on Monday because my BARD account is logged out. I cannot get into the app completely.
Yes. Okay, sure. That does happen. Actually, if you call on Monday, ask for somebody from the BARD team. I actually am not on the BARD team.
No, I have talked to somebody and they tried helping me, but the password's not logging in.
Okay, so what I would echo what
Sorry,
Dina
Stacie.
said. No, you're good. So I would echo what Dina suggested, calling on Monday and speaking with a BARD person.
Yeah, I think they can help you reset the password. So we
Hey,
open
Tina.
we open at 8 o'clock. We're open from 8 to 5, closed from noon to 1 for lunch.
Okay.
And they should be able to help you, get that password working again.
Okay. Thank you, Dina.
Probably will need a reset. Sure, no problem.
You're welcome.
Okay, so, and those are great questions, and we will definitely have time for others. I wanna move on, and thank you, Dina, for a wonderful presentation, but I wanna spend a little bit of time talking about, Braille from the functional standpoint. So we're not talking about Braille where you learn to read Braille and reading is a hobby and your end goal is to be able to read Braille books. I want to talk about how Braille can be used in a functional sense, through your day-to-day life. And we've covered some of this before when I did a segment on organization tips. So Braille, if you learn the first 10 letters of the alphabet, letters A through J, you have essentially learned numbers 1 through 0 or 0 through 9, however you want to reverse that. And so if somebody who is new to vision loss or, they're really wanting to work on their organization skills and they learn those first 10 letters of the Braille alphabet, you could use different combinations of those letters as a labeling system for things around your home or documents that you have. So for example, if I'm somebody who's a very beginning Braille reader, and let's say I want to label my salt and pepper, I might use one Braille cell, which is all 6 dots for my salt, and I might use 2 Braille cells for my pepper. And so I would make a label that would have 1 Braille cell that would be salt, and I'd make a label for 2 Braille cells that would be pepper. I would put those labels on those items, and then I would be able to independently identify salt versus pepper. You could come up with, anybody could come up with a system that's gonna work for you and make sense to you. What I've said before in organization classes is that systems work really well when they're consistent. So if you come up with a system, you want to make sure that that's a system that you stick with. You don't want to, you want to come up with something that's going to work with you and be consistent with that. Braille it's really everywhere. It could be more places. From my standpoint as a Braille person, I wish I could just walk into every single restaurant and be presented with a Braille menu. The reality is that's not always the case. You're more likely to go into a restaurant and have access to a QR code, and you'd use your phone to have access to the menu. There are some main chain restaurants that do have Braille menus, things like the Cheesecake Factory, Chili's, Denny's, they have Braille menus. Now, they don't always present them to blind people when they go in because not all people who are blind are Braille readers. So I simply ask if they have it, it's great. The problem with that is while they may have a Braille menu, menus are updated frequently. So someone who's reading has access to a Braille menu may not have access to the latest and greatest specials that the restaurant is running. And most important, the prices that are listed in the Braille menu may not be accurate to what is on a print menu. Elevators. And knowing, being able to differentiate the men's room from the ladies' room. Those are functional instances in which having some basic understanding of Braille, obviously, W is past the 10-letter mark in Braille, but it's been my experience when people commit to learning the first 10 letters in the Braille alphabet, they want to take it further and challenge themselves to learn the entire 26 letters of the alphabet. So if you're able to do that, you're wanting to push yourself to do that, you would be able to identify the men's room from the ladies' restroom. Sometimes people feel like learning Braille is just not something they're ever going to be able to do. They feel intimidated by it. And what I might suggest is that for folks who have maybe some limited sensitivity in your fingers, we see this quite a bit with adults who are experiencing vision loss due to diabetes, diabetic retinopathy. Diabetes is one of the leading causes of adult onset blindness. Is get some dominoes or get some dice that have Braille dots on them, and you can practice, just using your fingers to read or, to count the dots on that dice. The dots on Braille, on tactile dominoes, or the dots that are on Braille dice are very pronounced. And so somebody that has a little bit of neuropathy, or maybe the sensitivity in their fingers is not quite where it needs to be, that's a good way to practice using your tactile skills to differentiate those dots. And you're doing it in a relaxed environment at your pace. Any questions?
No hands raised.
Okay. So when somebody, let's say somebody has made the commitment, they want to learn Braille, and they want to learn how to write Braille. As I mentioned in the beginning, there are a couple of tools that are used for Braille writing. The slate and stylus is it's equivalent. Think of a slate and stylus as the equivalent of a sighted person's pen and paper. So a slate is a device. It's either metal or plastic, and you have a sheet of paper. If you use a full size, I think is it 28 cell slate, you have a piece of 8.5 by 11 Braille paper, and then you have a stylus. There are slates that are smaller. There's a slate that I think is a 4x6 or a 3x5 slate. It fits an index card. And so you have your index card, you have your slate, and you have your stylus. So the slate, that was one of the very first tools that was developed for Braille users to write in Braille. The Perkins Braille Writer, which is a tool that most Braille people or blind people, sighted people may be familiar with. It's the clunky machine. It's like a metal gray, unless the colors have changed. It's about
gray.
It's what, Karen?
It is still gray.
Okay.
And you can get them in other colors now, but it's not as common.
Gotcha. So this is it's a machine. It's kind of clunky. It's loud, and it is about 9 pounds. So it's obviously much heavier. A slate and stylus is very lightweight. You simply can throw it in your purse or your backpack and go on your way. A Perkins Braille Writer you can't do that as easily. Although when I was in college taking a math class and I had a math tutor, I lugged my Braille Writer around in my backpack to meet my tutor so I could work on my math. It was heavy. So it's not as productive, in my opinion, to throw a backpack and throw a Braille Writer in your purse or your backpack. But it definitely is a tool that people use to write with Braille. A lot of people who take the Hadley courses will use a Braille Writer Some have used slates and styluses to do their coursework, but a lot of people will get themselves access to a Braille writer. And then of course, we aren't going to really focus a lot on the Braille displays, but they do make electronic Braille writers, but there's also Braille displays and note takers and things that are electronic Braille that you have you can throw those in your backpack and go on your merry way. So the Versa Slate is kind of a tool. Does somebody have a comment or a question? Okay, so the Versa Slate's a really cool tool. I got this a few years ago at the National Federation of the Blind National Convention. A company by the name of AT Guys was selling these. It's called a Versa Slate, and so this is a portable device. I think it's 4 lines.
Yep, it's 28 by 4, I think.
Yeah, and so it's an all-in-one unit. It's a slate that has a stylus that kind of connects to it, and you don't need paper for it. So you write your messages or write your numbers or whatever on this device, and then it's there. You flip the slate over, and on the back side where the cells are, that's where your notes or your numbers or whatever is. It has a series of buttons on there that once you've written that information and you've transferred it to other places, you can push the buttons to clear the slate, and it's ready for the next time you need it. So it's kind of a neat, modern, convenient way where you don't have to have paper. One thing has happened to me a couple of times. I have a pouch, I call it my slate pouch. I have a couple of different slates in it. I have some label tape, and I have a couple of styluses. I always have the slate pouch with me. I don't always have paper with me. So this Versa Slate is nice because you don't have to have paper. So that's kind of a cool thing. Another functional use, and kind of going back to the labeling of spices, but some people will come up with a tactile system where they label their medications. Being able to independently manage your medications is, I think, something that all blind people should be able to do. And so that's another reason that somebody might want to learn at least the Braille cell and the first 10 letters of the alphabet, because you can come up with a system for marking your medications if you chose to use Braille. The advantage I see to marking your medications with a Braille dot system versus using things like bump dots or other stickers or something is Braille is permanent in that depending on the supplies that you're using, once you put that sticker on your medications or your spices, it's there to stay. If you use bump dots or some people use little fancy gems and things that they can feel, sometimes those may fall off if the adhesive weakens. So you want to, when you're labeling things, you want to find a way that it's going to be permanent, that it's not going to fall off. Another way that, so another functional way of using Braille or labeling things is your home appliances. Many home appliances have, this day and time, they have touch screens or digital interfaces. So if you have a microwave, for example, let's say you wanted to put some Braille labels on your microwave buttons, you could come up with a system of characters that you recognize as being the start button on your microwave, and you could label that. Any questions?
No worry, that's right.
Okay. I think that's pretty much covers that piece that I wanted to cover. Karen, do you have anything that you might want to add to this bit of information?
Yeah, I use Braille for practically everything. I just recently surrendered to buying a label machine. It's called 6-Dot, and I love it because I can just, like you said, create my own labels. I don't have to just stick with the letters that are on the round Braille labeler. By the way, there is a labeler that's the 6-Dot that I'm talking about that actually looks kind of like the Braille that actually makes you allowed to put your own Braille, contracted Braille and all that. And with me learning, retraining myself to learn UEB on my own, I can type it in UEB and make the label work along with what I'm learning to do with my UEB updates.
Okay,
and also
great.
there's a label machine that puts Braille in there's a round dial thing that you can label with as well.
Yep. So thank you for that. And Sarah, I see that your hand is raised, and we'll get to that here in a second. So what Karen is mentioning is there are some devices that you can make Braille labels. You can certainly do this with a slate and stylus, a Perkins Braille writer, and you can do it with this 6-Dot labeler that Karen's mentioning. I've never seen that, but the
nice.
hand. I may need to check that out. But the handheld, it's a wheeled label maker. And what it is it uses label tape. So it uses a roll of tape. But this is something that on the wheel itself, it has the numbers, it has the letters and symbols in Braille, but it also has them in print. So a sighted person could use this device. My personal opinion of it is it's a great tool, and it was a great tool for its time, but we have developed some other, I think, better tools that are much easier on your hands. So I would not recommend a handheld labeler for somebody who might have some carpal tunnel because you're simply turning the wheel, punching, holding the handle of the dial. You have to push it in kind of tight so those pins can punch through the label tape. And it takes a while. It's something to use, but there are better things around now.
Those Braille label wheels always kind of reminded me of the Starship Enterprise after it got engaged in battle and it got beat up.
Yeah. Okay, Sarah, so what's your question?
All right, so I hit ask to unmute Sarah Freeman Smith. There we go.
Okay.
You're unmuted.
Great. Thanks for sharing the tidbit about the dice and dominoes. I'm curious because I have toddler grandsons, and I want to purchase the Lego Braille blocks. I believe they're alphabet. Would you advise, or I'm thinking, would that be too big of a tactile learning tool for me? But at least as I'm learning, I'm bringing them right along so they can help me more down the road. So I was just curious if that would be also a good tactile learning tool from using the Lego blocks.
I would say yes, but I will say this. We want to get a set ourselves. I just think that is so amazing.
I know.
And for those who don't know, Lego, I believe, partnered with the National Federation of the Blind to put Braille on its Lego blocks. And also in those sets, there are instructions in Braille and also in print of how you could go and build certain things. And it would allow having those box Brailled, it gives a blind person or Braille reader an opportunity to follow those instructions and create those designs. I think that is super amazing. And I say go for it. The other thing that I will say about including Braille, a few years back, the makers of Uno came out with Braille Uno cards that were actually sold at Target, which was a huge thing because Braille games typically have to be ordered from, there are places that have Braille games available. And so Uno was the first game in Braille that was sold in a retail store. So that was pretty cool. What about these? Oh, yes. I'm going to talk about my good friends. So the Braille Unos, I highly recommend you get them.
Target, Amazon.
Yep,
various
and
different
you
places.
can definitely let us know when you have them, and I want to invite myself over to play.
What's cool about the Braille Uno is that if you're a totally sighted person, if you're partial, low vision, or totally blind, you can play Uno with anybody. And that way, if you're a person who's learning Braille, you can kind of see, oh, this is what, green 2, this is what green 2 looks like in Braille. So it's kind of a fun teaching tool in an informal, setting. So that's always a good thing.
Something else that I want to point out that you could do if you're really wanting to work on your tactile skills is get a very simple game like Connect 4. And you could actually create, you have the red and the black discs, for lack of a better term. You could put maybe some Velcro or some sort of tape or something on one color, and then on the other color you could leave them blank. So that's an opportunity for you to use your fingers to kind of differentiate between different textures. There are some tools that people can use to help themselves learn Braille. I'm going to start with the things that you could use at your home. So I mentioned the half dozen of eggs, right? If you, you save an egg carton, maybe you get some little golf balls or little ping pong balls, you could actually make your own Braille cell. You could use a half dozen of eggs, have your six balls, that could be a way that you could have your Braille alphabet card. And let's say you're starting and you want to start working on learning the alphabet. So the full Braille cell, you would have a ball in every egg of the egg carton. Yep. Of the 6 eggs. So if you wanted, what I would recommend is have a Braille cell, and then I would start removing balls from the cell. And the letter A in Braille is .1. So if I have 6 balls, and I've already told you that the first column on the left-hand side is dots 1, 2, and 3. And on the right-hand column is dots 4, 5, and 6. You're going to need to take balls out of dots 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you will have one ball in the upper left-hand corner, which represents dot 1. So that's a quick, easy way to make something for yourself at home. Another tool that I think, I can't remember the price of these, but there is a company, and they've been at our HAVIN Expos before. They're 64-ounce games, or 64-ounce Braille is what they are now. This is a company that they make and sell accessible game kits for games that aren't your standard Monopoly, Scrabble, and those kinds of things. I can't remember the word I'm trying to come up with, but they're games that you might not otherwise think of. Okay, So 64-ounce games, they make accessibility kits. So let's say I have friends who really like the game Apples to Apples. And I want to have my friends over to play that game. I can get an accessibility kit from 64-ounce games where I could put Braille labels on the cards of Apples to Apples. And I'm going to have that game. It's not going to interfere with my sighted friends playing. It's going to, if anything, it's going to allow it so I can play independently and I don't have to ask my sighted friends to read my cards. And they do a whole host of, I mean, they do all kinds of accessible games, but an area that they have kind of morphed over into is coming up with tools that schools, teachers of blind students, teachers of visually impaired who are teaching Braille to their students, they have come up with a device it's made out of silicone. I have one in front of me. It's got 1, 2, 3.
It's about the size of a placemat.
It is. I'm trying to think of something to equate it to. It's about the size, a little bigger than a half sheet of paper, maybe. But this is called a Braille Poppet. And so what this is it has 1, 2, 3. It has a couple of rows that have Braille cells. It actually has, oh, this is good. 1, 2, 3. Yep, so it has 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it has 6 lines, and in the middle there's a divider. So the divider, it has the logo, and it has in Braille, it says 64ouncebraille.com. So it gives their website. But in these first 3 rows, you have Braille cells. So you have 6 Braille cells. And so this is a good way for somebody, a tool that a teacher or even an adult might get to start practicing learning Braille. What this is it's like little, would you describe these as bubbles?
Yeah, they're like bubbles. It's almost like the bubbles kind of remind me of like packing bubbles.
Yeah.
You push them in. Of course, these don't pop, not that way because they're gonna just kind of be pressed in, and that's
Yep.
kind of what makes the dots.
Yeah. So when the dots are fully, when they are raised, that shows you the Braille cell. Going back to my example of learning the letter A, I know that A is dot 1. I'm going to press in the dots for dots 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And if we were in person, you guys might be able to hear this better, but once I've done that, I have the letter A that's represented by just that single dot, that single bubble that was left raised. The reason this is kind of cool is because if somebody doesn't have, good strong finger dexterity, maybe, or you have some tactile sensitivity going on, you can really feel these bumps, and it doesn't require a lot of finger strength to press these down. As a matter of fact, there are some teachers that use these tools to help their students learn the finger isolation and build their finger strength so they'll be able to push the keys on a Perkins Braille writer. So that's called a Braille Poppet. 64-ounce games or 64-ounce Braille are the makers of this tool. And it's kind of neat because it's got enough space so you could actually use this to make sentences or learn the Braille alphabet. So that's a cool little gadget to have. Are there any questions?
No questions, but we did have a comment that
Okay.
came through chat.
Yep.
From Jacqueline, basically saying that the Talking Book program is going to start loaning accessible games to watch for that in the newsletter. And I think I've seen
Yeah, I remember.
postings about that. So
Yep. And
Yeah.
Jacqueline was at our NFB of Texas State Convention, and she mentioned that, and I think that's really neat. I think that's really, really neat.
Yeah, we're really excited about that. So stay tuned for more.
Yeah. I also think that, we will include, I'll be sure to send you an email about this, Ron, to include 64-ounce games in the resources piece, so people can go there and visit their website and see what they have, what all they have. It's pretty neat.
So I want to mention something about 64-ounce games. This is kind of a funny story. So Richard Gibbs, who's he's the mister of 64-ounce games. He told me one day that one of the reasons why he was inspired to do the accessible game kits for all these other games is because he cannot stand Monopoly, Scrabble, Uno, like all your classic games that have been done over and over and over with accessibility. It's almost like what's the word I'm looking for? Like game tropes, if you will. You know what I mean? Or like the game cliches. So he has made it his mission to find all the current and trending games that are out there that, to be honest, most blind people aren't even aware of, because the only thing that a lot of blind people are exposed to are the cliche type games: checker, chess, Uno, Monopoly, Scrabble, etc. So when 64-ounce games started putting these games out, I had never heard a lot of these games, but sure enough, I go look them up on Amazon and everybody's playing these games. Well, everybody's cited. I discovered Exploding Kittens. And then there's another game. It starts with a D. There's a game, and I haven't played it, but Dominion. There we go. It's called Dominion. So they sold Dominion. We actually got the game for Dominion. We have yet to play it, but the reason I mention it is because our daughter cited, and one day we're having dinner with her, and she's like, "Oh yeah, me and my friends, we were playing Dominion and blah 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 blah." I'm like, "Oh cool," you know what I mean? So it just really goes to show that a lot of these mainstream card games, there's a ton of them out there that most blind or low vision people aren't even aware of, just because of the simple fact that they're not accessible. And so those are the kinds of games that you'll find a lot with the 64-ounce games for those kits. Is be prepared to find games that you had no clue even existed, with rules that aren't your typical type of card play rules.
So that kind of brings us to Braille resources. That's a good segue into Braille resources. So obviously 64-ounce games, again, they have accessible game kits, but they also have some tools for folks to learn Braille. The Braille Poppet is the thing that I mentioned and spoke about. I mentioned the slate and stylus, and I want to say that the National Federation of the Blind has a free slate and stylus program. You do not have to be a member of the National Federation of the Blind to get a free slate and stylus. So you can visit nfb.org, and there is a link on the website that you fill out a form to get a free slate and stylus. The Hadley School, Dina and I have mentioned that. I mentioned when we talked about Braille calendars, the American Printing House for the Blind. They also have games and a whole lot of other things related to Braille. National Braille Press is another place where people can get books, cookbooks, just all kinds of stuff. The Braille Superstore, they have all kinds of Braille stuff, games, kitchen gadgets, measuring cups. And Karen, I think you had a resource that you wanted to talk about.
Yes, I do. And most of you've heard about this before, but if you haven't, you will hear it again. I am a member of the Braille Revival League, and the state affiliate for that is the Braille Revival League of Texas, which is also what I'm a member of. And we are recruiting new members if anybody is interested.
Can you tell us a little bit about what the Braille Revival League is?
It is the affiliate of the American Council of the Blind. We promote learning and teaching Braille, a lot of like what we're doing here. We also promote the production of Braille. We promote the use of Braille, and we also promote Braille that is used every day. So anything that is pertaining to Braille, the Braille Revival League of Texas is interested in it.
Okay, and if someone's interested in becoming a member of that, should they contact you?
Yes. May I give my contact information?
Yes.
Okay, first name is Karen, Karen. Last name is Eitel, Eitel. My number is 281-358-6390. Email Karen Eitel at gmail.com.
All right, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Do we have any questions?
So we have Alice Lopez with a raised hand.
Okay.
So I'm gonna ask you to unmute.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Somebody was calling me on my cell and I lost contact. So I couldn't hear, I couldn't hear what Karen was saying.
Oh, do you need her to repeat her contact information?
I didn't catch anything. Like I said, somebody was calling me and they cut your guys out.
Okay, so what we're going to do about that, Alice, is we'll be sending out the recording of this workshop.
Okay.
So you'll be able to listen to it and get that information.
Okay,
And,
great.
and
Thank
this
you.
is Ron. I will include that in the follow-up email you will receive. You will have Karen's contact information.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you,
Thank
Ron.
you.
All right.
Thank you.
One other thing, go ahead. Somebody have a question or a comment?
No, I think that was just feedback.
Okay.
Yep.
One other resource I wanna mention, you know, sometimes people sighted or blind want to know, well, what could I get my friends, my family members who may be Braille readers? What kinds of gifts could I get them? And I want to put out, I want to share with you guys the name of another business that does Braille items. Wonderful lady, great products. It's called Dot Shop. So it's DOTSHOP. Rosina Foster, who is the owner of this. She makes Braille items. So Raul and she has made for us some coffee mugs that we have that have our company logo on them and our name. She's made some other things for us over the years that we've given as gifts to one another. And Rosina Foster .shop is another Braille resource if you are interested in gifts and things. She makes shirts, tumblers, you know, to drink out of, blankets, all kinds of cool stuff. So if there are no other,
We do.
okay,
Yep.
go ahead.
We have well, we had Clarice with a hand raised. If you still have a question, I went ahead and put you on ask to unmute.
Zoom meeting.
Okay.
Unmute.
There you are.
Yeah. Alt+A.
How can I download Bard to my computer?
So, yeah, are you a member of the Talking Boat program?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so you can sign up for Bard. There is information on our website about how to sign up for Bard, or give us a call and we can give you more information about that. And it is a free app for your phone or for the computer, but you have to be signed up in order for it to work.
Well, I am a member of Bard already.
So I had it on my phone and I lost the phone. So now I need to get it on the computer.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, give us a call and a member of the BARD team can talk you through that process.
Okay.
Absolutely, we'd be happy to help.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
All right. Do we have any other questions? Okay. I want to make one other mention of a home tool that you could yourself use to help you learn Braille. And sometimes I think, and we do this, one other resource, I have two things to mention. So the National Federation of the Blind, the organization that I belong to and serve as the Houston chapter president, we have a program in NFB called Braille Enrichment for Literacy and Learning. And every summer we have summer programs called Braille Academies. Gosh, we have over 30 programs throughout the country. Different affiliates have one or two each summer, it depends. But we hold a Braille Academy here in Texas every summer. And this is for children ages, 3 to 14.
14.
Where we have a 1 or 2 week long program where we spend time with students. Some of them are Braille readers, some are learning about Braille, and the whole time it's focused around Braille literacy. We do Braille reading and writing, non-visual skills, technology, and we incorporate Braille and non-visual skills in all of those activities. So that is something, if there are parents listening and you have young children, you feel free. We will, once we get information about our Braille Academy, when it's going to start and those kinds of things, we'll be sure to share that information. The other thing is sometimes what people will use to help them learn, better understand the Braille cell and its layout. You can get tennis balls and use a muffin tin. So a muffin tin that holds 6 muffins, that can be your Braille cell, and those balls, manipulating them, moving them into the different muffin tins. That's another way to help you learn the dot patterns in relation to their positions in the Braille cell. If there are no other questions at this time, I think we will draw a name for a door prize.
Stacie, while you're doing that, I just wanted to mention, since you brought up the Braille Academy, in the reference center that I manage, I do have 2 fact sheets. One is for older individuals who have vision disabilities, and also I have a fact sheet for children and teenagers with vision disabilities. So those fact sheets have state resources and national resources. So if you are interested in either of those fact sheets, just give us a call or send us an email. I can send those by email or by regular mail. If necessary, we can have those transcribed into Braille upon request as well.
Great. As you can see, there is a plentiful resources for introducing Braille and promoting the use of Braille. Again, feel free to reach out to us if you have questions or anything, and we will do our best to get those answered.
And I will add the resource, we will include a lot of, I'm going to try to get all these resources from Dina and Stacie and put these all in the follow-up email. So that will be a very rich, detailed message. So save that message, because it's going to be your resource library for Braille resources.
And one thing I'll end on before we do our door prize, you know, those who know me, you know that Braille, or that birthdays in our world are month-long celebrations. The really cool thing I think about Louis Braille is that his birthday is on January the 4th. But I think it's any time that I, as a Braille reader, am accessing the invention that he came up with, he's celebrated. It is what connects me as a blind person to the sighted world, giving me access to information, but also increasing my independence and freedom. So we celebrate him every day. All right, do we have a name for a door prize?
So I do. I'm going to get a name here. I'm going to ask my friend Google to assist me real quick. Hey, Google, give me a random number between 1 and 15. All right, 3. So that lands on somebody who's on here by Lady K. I'll request for you to unmute just to confirm.
I'm here.
All right.
And who do we have the pleasure of speaking with?
This is Lady K. Williams. Woohoo!
Kanisha.
Yes,
Okay,
Kanisha. I'm Paul's wife.
Okay, excellent. All right. Well, so your prize is a $25 Amazon gift card, which is being donated by RGA Tech Solutions,
Hey, I know them.
the business that Paul and I have. So
Congratulations.
we will get that to you, and just
Would you prefer that we get that to you at your mobile number or your email address?
You could give it to me at my email address. That's fine.
Okay, I'll pull your email address from the registration, and then we'll get it to you there.
And Paul, don't you go spending that on Night Manager. You let her get something for herself. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I want to say a big thank you for the whole team that put this together. Raul and Stacie hosting this, RGA Tech Solutions donating the door prize, but the presentation, Stacie, Dina, Karen, thank you all for the work and effort you put into this, because this touched on so many aspects of Braille that, it touches everyone's lives. And which is ironic because Braille is all about touch. So thank you all.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ron. Thank you to Stacie and Raul. Ron, thank you for all you do with HAVIN. It's such a great organization. I'm so pleased to be, to make presentations anytime that Jacqueline and I can do anything to help HAVIN, just let us know.
Well, I want to add one final note here, because Dina, you and I met at the first Inside Expo that HAVIN hosted.
Yes.
And you were there representing the Talking Book program and TSL. And I'm just adding this on here because if you didn't already get your notice, the Inside Expo is open for registration. It's planned for Saturday, March 23rd, 9 to 2. It'll be at the University of Houston as always. So make plans, put that on your calendar, on your Braille calendar that you're going to get here. So let's get it done. So we look forward to seeing you at the Inside Expo for those of you who can make it there with us.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for spending part of your Saturday with us.
Thank you all so much. We appreciate you.
And Ron, I will get you those resources on Monday.